It has come to my attention that some people choose PS1 art style for their project because they think it's ugly. And because it's ugly, it's easy to make it. If you think games like MGS, Alien, Alone in the Dark, Colony Wars, Silent Hill, Vagrant Story, and many more are ugly, then I regret to inform you that you lack the ability to objectively discern what is aesthetically pleasing and what is not, and may God have mercy on your soul. I think there is a giant misconception from many beginner game developers, and probably some experienced ones as well, that PS1 style means crappy low-resolution textures and ugly low-poly models. Okay, sure, there are a bunch of really ugly PS1 games, but most of them look good, and there are several that have become timeless classics and still hold up today. If you want to get better at making PS1 style art, then my advice is to install an emulator. DuckStation is a really good one. Play some of the games I mentioned earlier and record your gameplay. You don't even need to install a screen recording software, you can do it directly in DuckStation. Then as you make your textures, compare them to what you recorded and try to understand what is it that makes, for example, MGS textures look better than yours. Because usually it isn't a lack of skill, but rather a lack of familiarity and reference material. See what's missing, probably details like shadows, highlights, glow from light sources. Such details are baked in the textures of some of the best looking games out there. Are your textures too high or too low resolution for the surface they're being used on? Are they too blurry or too sharp? Are they too messy? Are they boring looking? DuckStation also has a couple of useful features, like the ability to dump textures, so you can inspect them later, wireframe overlay and free camera, so you can get a closer look at stuff that's usually inaccessible to the player. Or you can get bird's eye view of the level, to see how different textures blend together. This blending is done in the texture. I know you can use vertex colors to blend them, but just keep in mind that that's not how they did it back in the good old days. In some games, textures that shouldn't be seamless are not. You can find a bunch of examples in Medal of Honor, and I only noticed it when using the free camera tool. You can also use tools to extract MGS textures, so that you can view them on your computer, but I think it's also very valuable to see them in game. That way you can get a better idea of what other textures should go with it, how many variations there are and how are they used. Often I see these projects where people have only one wall texture that's tiled to infinity. But if you check good PS1 games, you can see that often there are several variations. You have the base wall texture, but then there is one with pipes, another variation where the color is slightly different because it's dirty or damaged. And by making a few variations, you can make the environment not only more interesting looking, but you can even distract from the fact that your textures might not be perfect. I think there are also people who believe that crappy art somehow makes the game more scary, and I just don't buy it. Crappy art can ruin immersion. Imagine someone who is engrossed in your game suddenly realizes that the floor is made out of an ugly Perlin noise texture, and instead of being afraid of the thing they're supposed to be afraid of, they're seeking out other instances of ugly textures. And then they realize that playing your game is like staring at a hunched over fat guy's partially revealed butt crack. Once something like that happens, it can be really hard to regain immersion. By the way, I didn't mean to talk trash about Perlin noise, it's one of my favorite types of noise. I'm not trying to gatekeep either. I'm not saying that these games shouldn't exist. Well, maybe a couple of them. I just don't think that you can use PS1 style as an excuse to be lazy with your art assets. As if labeling your project as PS1 style shields you from any criticism about the visuals. If you really don't like to make textures or you're bad at it, then skip textures altogether. Use flat polygons and focus on lighting instead. It's still possible to make a good looking game. Or find someone else to make textures for you. Use asset packs. Or just push through the uncomfortable feeling and learn how to make great textures. I promise that if you do it for a while, you will eventually get better. It's impossible not to improve, no matter how creatively bankrupt you think you are. Some of the art stuff I made years ago doesn't even look like it was made by a human being, but rather a chimpanzee somewhere in a lab. I'm probably wasting my breath because there will always be people who do not care about that stuff. They're not really trying to make a good game. Maybe they're just asset flippers, or they're doing it because that's what everyone else is doing. Some people don't want to make a great game. They just make what they want and then upload it, regardless of how good or bad it is. Is that wrong? I believe that you should always strive to do the best you can with the skill set you have, and the more you do it, the better you become at it. Just because you can find examples of really ugly PS1 games doesn't mean you should be inspired by them. Be inspired by the best games out there, or if you intentionally want to make an ugly game, that's fine too, just don't call it PS1 style and expect people to applaud.